Hi, I'm Carrie and welcome to my channel. Today's video, I am sharing some non-traditional, that's what I'll say, non-traditional autumn or seasonal decks. For the past couple weeks, I have been watching numerous channels share their spooky decks, what they're going to be using for the Halloween season, their witchy decks, and I adore those aesthetics. However, I know that not everyone loves the Halloween vibe or spooky season, and so I wanted to share some pairings that I feel still bring that rich, cozy fall energy without going witchy or dark or spooky in any way. These are your run of the mill decks. These are just regular decks. They're not themed for anything. That I've pulled out of my cupboard. And I spent a lot of time thinking about what decks in here that are just your plain old decks that could bring forward that autumn feeling and appeal to maybe those who, like I said, don't enjoy that side of this season. So everything today is a pair. I guess I should have mentioned that at the beginning. So I have 6 pairs here to show you. And I picked decks that I feel are maybe grounded or earthy or maybe in the tone, I guess, of autumn. And I feel like these decks can, or for me, I should say anyway, these decks, when I use them, feel a little bit more deep when I do certain types of readings with them, or they're the ones that I'm gravitating towards using, I should say, during this time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first pairing. So first up, I have the Touchstone Tarot that I'm going to pair with the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. The Touchstone Tarot, both of these are mass market. The Touchstone Tarot is by Cat Black, put out by US Games, and this is one of my favorite decks ever. I just love it. And the Vintage Wisdom Oracle is by Victoria Mosley, also put out by US Games. And I'm appealing to US Games right now, if you should ever see this video, to please make this into a pocket size oracle. Just 4 days from when I'm filming this, 4 days ago, I chopped all the borders off this deck because it was not usable for me because of how large it was. I didn't do a very good job at cutting, so things are pretty uneven here, but it's much more manageable now. So the Touchstone Tarot automatically gives me an autumn feeling with its rich color palette, the brown card backs, the gold accents, the gold gilding on the side. And the framed Renaissance style portraits really bring forward that warm, cozy, inviting, like you're being pulled into a candlelit room to sit and view these beautiful portraits that are up on the wall, maybe have some tea while you're doing so, and having a chat with your friends. That's kind of how I feel about the Touchstone Tarot. And I feel like the Touchstone Tarot is very deep when it comes to its readings and really pulls me in and gets me invested in the characters on the cards. The Vintage Wisdom Oracle, I think, blends right in with that atmosphere because the artwork on this, I feel, is like timeless and elegant. And the two decks paired together have this, oh, I don't know, we'll say like reflective, like a reflective energy to it. I think that's perfect for the fall season when you are turning your focus inward and you are wanting to, explore the shadow or even the beauty within. But these two decks, I think, have that beauty and bring a richness to the readings. So that's why I thought that these would be perfect for fall season if, like I said, you're not into the aesthetics of spooky season. And like I said, oh God, US Games, please make this into either a borderless edition or a pocket edition or something, because I honestly adore this Vintage Wisdom Oracle. The next two decks that I am pairing that I feel will have a fantastic energy for fall is another deck by Cat Black, the Golden Tarot. Adore it. I love this one even more than the Touchstone Tarot. I loved it the second it was out of the box. This is also a US Games deck. The other one is an independent deck put out by Lennox Reese. This is her brand new Coastal Curiosities Naturalist edition. I talked about this deck briefly, this Oracle, in my September wrap up. So you can check that out, because in the comments, Lennox listed all the changes and everything that she did to the cardstock and everything else with this deck, including there is a specimen pack that can be ordered also to go alongside the deck that gives you 6 additional new cards. So there's this pairing doesn't maybe look like it would go together, but I like to test the waters before I put some decks together in a video. So I just pulled some quick 3-card readings, kind of laid out like this, to see what the energy of these two decks working together would be. And personally, I feel it was like a seamless union. And the Golden Tarot has that same Renaissance vibe as the Touchstone. All the rich gold tones, the gold borders, the gold colored backs, and the ornate details that are in the imagery. But something about, I guess I should remember to switch the Oracle too, but something about the Golden Tarot makes me want to slow down, makes me want to maybe meditate on the cards. Like I'm meant to sit with the readings while I let the cards speak to me instead of rushing through to quickly get my answers. And pairing it with the Naturalist edition of the Coastal Curiosities, I know it feels like a completely different world with this being collage and having animals and nature and the little curiosities that are all through the deck or the card images. But pairing the more formal imagery and classical energy of the Golden Tarot, I think creates a really interesting balance that bridges like the sacred and the natural, bringing the Renaissance halls into the wild, out into nature almost. That's how I felt. Um, and I was really curious to see what kind of dialogue these two decks would have together. And it really did surprise me in the absolute, best way. I mean, look here, we've got Knight of Swords, Robust, and the Three of Swords. This is a lot of energy from the Knight of Swords, that robust energy. But look at the squirrel who is looking towards the Three of Swords. But then we got the watering can pointed towards the Knight of Swords, and almost like where you like throw water. This is just the images that come to mind when I was playing around with this. Almost like you would throw water on someone to like snap them out of something, to make them pause for a moment. That's almost what I feel like with that imagery right there. We have Seven of Cups, Stillness, and the Devil. I just think that these are so different in their vibration, but yet work so seamlessly with one another. Ace of Coins, support, and the Ten of Cups. I think that's another beautiful match right there. So I think I'm really going to enjoy trying out this pairing this fall and seeing what else I get from these two decks. My next pairing is the Dreamkeepers Tarot by Liz Hudson, also a US Games deck, and the Between the Worlds Shadow Casting with Bone and Curio Oracle cards by Monica Badursky. Now, I wrote all over my cards because I didn't want to have to go to the guidebook all the time, but this guidebook is brilliant. This is a Red Feather production. The guidebook is brilliant. There's so much in here for each one of these little cards. I used this quite a bit last year and loved it. I paired it with many different decks, used it on its own, used it in combination with Oracle, another Oracle, used it with Tarot. I think this is really versatile. And I have gushed about this deck since I've had my channel. I think I've had this for 2 years now, 2.5 years maybe. And the uniqueness of this deck is like no other in my collection. The Dreamkeepers Tarot, I feel, has this dreamy, surreal quality to it that is full of feminine energy, introspective energy, and is even a little bit on the moody side. At least it is for me sometimes, but it's in the best way, I mean, possible. And every image of this deck feels like a portal into the subconscious where it really makes you slow down and feel your way through the reading. There are so many layers to these images, and she goes into a lot of detail here in the guidebook about the images and what the symbolism and that is also, which I thoroughly appreciate. I love when the creators have that extra symbolism in the cards and they bring it forward also in the guidebook by talking about the images, why they chose certain things, why there are certain details on each of these cards. And the thing about the bone, what is the name of this again? The Between the Worlds. I was going to say the Bone Oracle, but the Between the Worlds Oracle, even though it's minimalistic, because you've just got your single image. That's it. And what that image is what's on the card. I think maybe the simplicity, at least this is my thought process to this. Let's put these together here because I'm running out of cards. The simplicity of the Between the Worlds Oracle, I think maybe balances the symbolism or layered symbolism maybe in the Dreamkeepers. So this one I didn't pair with, or I didn't work with too much, just like did a really quick reading with it that gave me a lot to think about. I think these two decks create something that feels otherworldly, like you're walking between imagination and intuition. Because look, we have the Five of Wands here and the Doll's Leg with mobility and immobility. So maybe this is like a reading that tells you you need to move on from this. Stop getting involved with this conflict, with this drama in some way. It's not really needed. That's how I would see these. And I think the pairing lets you lean into the uniqueness of both of these decks while still bringing forward a very cohesive reading. We got the Queen of Cups with the cat, solitary and sociable. But look how the Queen of Cups head is leaning towards this cat image, and it's up at the top, so maybe that goes more towards solitary. I don't know. I just, like I said, when I was playing around with this, The reading was like really unique. I was really paying attention to what was going on in the Dreamkeepers, which like, because I had this surrounding it in three positions, side and top. Which way was this character looking? What did that bring forward? What was it focusing on? So yeah, I can't wait to play around with these two decks. I think it's going to be interesting readings that it brings forward. The next ones that I'm pairing together that really pull me into the darker half of the year is the Runic Tarot. This is by Lo Scarabeo, which I picked up off of Llewellyn. And this is I think this is in a mini version now, but this is the one that comes with a larger book. And this is by Jack Sephiroth, Alan Dempster, and Jamie Elford. And then the Talisman Oracle, which is a US Games production. This should be like a US Games show and tell with as many decks as I have. But this is by Nora Paskaleva, and hopefully I pronounced her name correctly. The Runic Tarot, immediately, I mean, straight out of the bag, because I don't have mine in the box anymore, pulls me into the fall and like early winter or even deeper into winter vibes. The artwork has a darker tone to it, and the energy feels strong and ancient, and almost like when there's that shift in the energy in the air where you can definitely tell autumn has fully arrived. Things get a little bit crisper, the leaves are dropping quicker, and it has that major shift in it. And that's kind of what I feel with the energy of this Runic Tarot here. It carries forward like a Viking atmosphere, and that sense of preparing and grounding, like preparing for winter, and grounding into that energy and connecting with the cycles of nature. Uh, I just love it, and I don't use this deck enough. So the choice with the Talisman Oracle, which I feel is on the minimalist side, because we just have like a couple little images here in the center. It's all black with its, I don't know if that's white or a silverish type edging. I think the aesthetics together are beautiful. The simplicity of this oracle, I feel, balances beautifully with the details of the Runic Tarot. And I actually like, well, look at that. And I actually like that both decks work with symbols. This works with like sigils and that sort of energy, and this works with the runes. And the runes are talked about in each of the entries of the guidebook. So, in case you don't have this. And combining them together, my thought process was, it feels like weaving two languages together. And I just thought that would be fascinating to work with. I love working with sigils. So to add in this element of the runes with that, I think is, like I said, really fascinating. I think it's like a pairing that is maybe stark and introspective and powerful all at the same time, especially for this time of year. I mean, God, look at this Nine of Pentacles. That is fabulous. Nine of Pentacles, cast away negativity, and we have the Ace of Pentacles on the other side. Destiny, the Sun, and what is this? What is this energy here? Oh, this is the Nine of Cups. So that's cool. We have the Three of Pentacles, financial security, and the Two of Pentacles over here. Well, that's an interesting pair also. So yeah, I don't know. And I want to dive into the runes, and I want to dive into, she talks about like the talisman power and everything. I don't know. I just thought it would be a really cool pairing to work with, to see how they're going to speak to each other. And because I know they look beautifully together. Oh, and look at this. Look how the coin here is facing towards this two of coins right there. Wow. I don't know what else is on here. Those look like crab legs. Is that what that is? I'm going to have to look that up now. Are those roots? What is that? I don't know. To me, it looks like crab legs. Oh, it says, imagine their roots. Oh my God. I must be hungry or something. It says, oh, imagine the roots of the coin going deeper into the ground like a seed of security planted safe. I need to take a break and have lunch. Oh my God. Crab legs. Oh, that's hysterical. I'm going to leave that in. I'm not going to cut that part out. So, but yeah, I just think this is going to be a fun pairing, and I'm looking forward to using it this fall, especially since I don't use this Runic tarot that often. This poor thing accidentally gets pushed to the back of my cupboard, and I really need to use it more. I'll just say that. Two more pairings and we will be all done. So my next pairing, the tarot is an independent deck. It is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. I did a whole Second Treasures walkthrough of this deck, talked about the imagery on it and how it has that vintage feeling to me, just by, I don't know if there's a wash over it or what, but that's kind of how it feels, like a vintage postcard feel, but it's modern imagery. And the oracle that I decided to try to pair it with is Into the Lonely Woods by Lucy Cavendish and Dan May. And this is a Blue Angel deck. So I would have picked that up from, I think I got that from Llewellyn, I think. The Slow Tarot, like I just mentioned, feels like an old photograph, even with its modern depictions. And I think that is such an interesting blend of like old and new energy with its slightly muted color palette, with the brown tone, and it has gold or yellowish or whatever on the back. Also, that brings in that, autumn vibe to it. But with the Lonely Woods, which is a deck that I worked with extensively when I first got it. And for me, the messages are about slowing down, finding peace in the solitude, embracing the slower moments. And that it talks about that on the back, about solitude and when you feel, you're alone, or where you can heal and grow in that. So it does really carry that vibration with it. So I think having these two decks together just feels aligned, because both, I think, invite you in to slow, to pause, to maybe take stock of how you're feeling, to turn or tune, I should say, into the energy of the season. Maybe it's like pairing a peaceful and a grounding energy together. Take a breath after a busy day and, take stock in where you're at in your journey and how you're feeling about it. Because we have the Page of Swords, the Littlest Blessing, and the Seven of Swords there. And I would take notice that he is kind of facing towards the Seven of Swords. So what are you maybe deceiving yourself about? What are you, not telling the truth to yourself about? Maybe there's more here to be grateful for. You could see it like that. They look beautiful together. And these fluffy little creatures just warms my heart in the best way. We have the Chariot, Do Not Hide Your Light, and the King of Swords. Maybe this is about speaking your truth, letting people know how you feel. Um, Maybe it's about keep moving forward also, and not being stuck in the um, old things that you're usually telling yourself. I don't know. I just think it's lovely. The high priestess, your truth is power, and the hermit. Oh, look at this hermit image with this image here. I mean, how lovely is that? And the color of her dress almost matches the exact coloring of this oracle. I think these are beautiful, and um, I'm thinking about really pulling this oracle out again this season because I have not used it, like I said, since I did that. I used it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months in a row when I first got it, and really dove headfirst into this to work through some things, to shut that noise out. And I'm looking forward to maybe working with this again this season. And the final pairing that I'm going to show for today is the Old Style Tarot by Alexander Ray, also US Games, and Earthly Souls and Spirits Moon Oracle by Terry Foss. And this is also put out by US Games. Again, it should have been called the US Game Fall Show and Tell. That's what it should have been called. And the Old Style Tarot, I believe they are coming out with an oracle for this deck. I really, really am looking forward to that, and will be picking it up for sure. The Old Style Tarot has that old world charm, classic old world charm to it. I can't explain it any better than that. It talks about on the back of the deck paying homage to the classical European tarot traditions, but with the vintage quality, but the clear symbolism in this deck. There's something about the tone of it that pulls me into the autumn feeling. Almost like shopping in an antique store. That's kind of what this deck brings forward for me, with the aged paper look and the muted colors. And then you've got this vibrant pop of color from the Earthly Souls and Spirits deck right in the center. And the coloring of this deck, I feel, brings forward colors from this deck. So when you use them together, I feel like this deck pulls out certain things or makes you look at certain things. Like the bluish here automatically, even though this is the tower, pulls me to who is this, like St. Peter or whatever up here above the tower. It pulls me right into that. And then the coloring of the owl or the fire here pulls me over into the dress or the outfit here of the 8 of Swords energy. So there's certain things, like when you look at this, it pulls out the things from these cards. When I was playing around with them, I see the gold right in here immediately. That gives me the sun. That brings forward those 2 of Pentacles when I look at those 2 cards. So it really does pull your eye in a certain direction, pairing these 2 decks together. And it feels magical in the process of that. And I think it's a lovely way to kind of bring forward the autumn energy in a subtle way, because this, out of everything I showed, has that witchy vibe to it. So may pull you into that spooky season energy, but I don't feel, even with its pumpkins and witches, that it is a spooky season deck, at least not for me. So look here, all this purplish hue around the prosperity automatically pulls me into the outfit here on the Page of Cups card. And so maybe this prosperity isn't that financial prosperity, but actually looking at, the kind of prosperity that you could bring forward by opening your heart a little bit, or stepping into your creative side more, and what kind of joy that can bring you, and how there needs to be a better balance in your life. I don't know. I love these two together. You've got the gold here and the dress, and it brings out like the fruit here that's surrounding the Queen of Pentacles. So I really do think that these two decks complement each other beautifully. And I feel personally, from my own perspective, that feel that by what I mentioned about noticing the coloring, that it brings that added element into your reading by making you really take notice of a certain aspect of the tarot. With this, like, we got this that leans into that color there. You've got the gold that leans into her dress color there. It's just so good. So good together. So those are my non-spooky fall feeling deck pairings. The decks, when combined or even alone, can feel rich and warm, and again, grounding without getting into that aspect of spooky or dark or that Halloween vibe. I would love to know what you are reaching for this time of year. I know that you are probably reaching for all those beautiful Halloween decks in your collection. But if you aren't Halloween enthusiast, and that's not really, where your energy sits, tell me what decks you're using. What are you putting together for this time of the year that isn't a dark deck, that's just your run of the mill deck that's in your cupboard, but you feel fits this fall energy in some way? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I do really appreciate you being here. If you like the video, I appreciate a thumbs up, a comment. I like to have discussions with you in the comments below to hear what you're using, or tell me what decks that you thought were the best pair that I showed today, or if there's any pairs that I showed that you haven't thought of that you are maybe going to try together if you happen to have those decks in your collection. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because that helps my channel here, or share if you feel so inclined to do so. And until I see you next time, bye.